The organization, Undoing Tax Abuse, has blamed the country's power crisis on poor planning, lack of management and old maintenance at Eskom. OUTA's chief executive, that's Wayne Duvenage, spoke amid rolling power cuts implemented by the embattled utility. Now, Eskom has said that it is going to continue with stage 4 load shedding up until Wednesday. This will be between the hours of 5 in the morning and all the way up until midnight. Now, the electricity giant has attributed the latest round of power cuts to what it describes as an unprotected strike by its employees.
If we look back at why we are in this position, it is because of poor planning, poor management, poor maintenance for many years of our electricity grid and our power stations. So if you throw in a labour dispute into the mix right now, where we are short of capacity, we're only running at about 60% of capacity of our full 58 gigawatts. As stuff goes down for planned maintenance and then outages and breakages that happen, any maintenance that comes to a grinding halt now with labourers and workers on strike is going to exacerbate the problem and is going to force the parastatal to put itself into a higher stage of load shedding so that it can consume or conserve, its stockpiles and so forth, so that it is able to provide some semblance of output. Otherwise, you just don't want to get into a blackout, a full blackout.
All right, let's continue with the conversation around Eskom now, and we're joined by the spokesperson, Sikonathi, who talks to us via the virtual platform. Mr. Mantshantsha, thank you very much for your time. I think what South Africans are probably wondering this morning is whether or not stage 4 will proceed to stage 5, stage 6 this week. Should we anticipate that?
There is absolutely no reason to speculate. Eskom will inform public as soon as anything changes and as soon as we need to issue a communication. I can confirm that there are up to 8 stages of load shedding that can be implemented. That's up to stage 8 when the need arises, and that is determined by one, the state of the power plant, the machines there, and that is determined by the availability of labor to do repairs as they are necessary, and that is determined by the availability of emergency reserves such as diesel, which we have improved the diesel levels and the ability to pump at the pumped storage capacity is good. So we are at this point at stage 4. And should that change, it can change either way. If things are going well, we will be able to reduce the stage of load shedding. But then, of course, if things really go bad, we would have to implement higher stages than we currently are at. And that decision will be made by the system operator as appropriate.
Well, the availability of labor, Mr. Mantshantsha, is the one element that you simply cannot guarantee as we speak, and that's because of the illegal strike action. Let me tell you this way, and that is that because you can't guarantee that availability of labor, you can't guarantee that this load shedding is not necessarily going to increase in stages this week, can you?
There's certainly no guarantees. It can go either way. Load shedding indeed can increase, as I have said, depending on those contingencies. At this point, as you have correctly pointed out, while some employees are embarking on the unlawful action and defying the court interdict, defying the law, Eskom is an essential services company and industrial action is therefore not permitted. So yes, absolutely, there are no guarantees that anyone can make. It is quite possible that we would have to do higher stages of load shedding. But I can tell you at this point, Tonani, that while there are demonstrations at some of our sites, even the employees that are picketing or demonstrating, they are peaceful and we are able to operate at this point. If things do change, we will, of course, immediately inform the people of South Africa about that situation.
Well, as peaceful as those workers may be embarking on their protest action, Mr. Mantshantsha, it does remain an illegal strike unless you're telling us that they have since sought permission to strike legally. And who are the unions behind this strike, by the way?
It is absolutely an illegal strike. Last week, Eskom obtained a court interdict to prevent the workers from conducting themselves in the manner they are, which is breaking the law and which is intimidating colleagues who actually want to go to work and serve the people of South Africa. So let's be frank again here. No trade union has come out to confirm that it has led its own members out on strike. That's precisely because that would be illegal. We have 3 trade unions that are recognized and were in the wage talks with Eskom. That is the National Union of Mine Workers, that is the National Union of Metal Workers of South Africa, and that is Solidarity. All 3 of them, none of them have actually come out and said we are on strike. That's precisely because they cannot legally do that. But we have people blocking the roads to power stations. We have people preventing other colleagues who actually want to work. And at this point, I must also say that there are thousands of Eskom employees who are going beyond the call of duty and answering the call to service and serving their country. We do take our hats off to those and thank those people who are making it possible to be able to deliver electricity at this point, however limited that may be.
Would it be fair to describe the situation particularly pertaining to those who are embarking on the illegal strike action? As you say, some of them are blocking the way of those who want to go to work, or even blocking trucks that are delivering the much-needed coal. Would it be fair to describe what they are doing as embarking on active sabotage?
Yes, absolutely. The biggest sabotage in the first place is going against the law for a critical service such as Eskom and embark on industrial action. And the court has made a pronouncement through the interdict and said this is unlawful. Please desist from doing this. So yes, it is absolutely sabotaging a system that was already constrained. Let's be frank here. Before this industrial action, Eskom was already load shedding at stage 2 level, and we have had to increase that in order to stage 4 in order to be able to respond to any unforeseen circumstances. It is a deliberate and a man-made sabotage that we have to find ourselves at this point now. And Eskom is doing what it can, one, by engaging with the leaders of the trade unions to call their members to order. And Eskom, of course, is following the bargaining process through to the CCMA, where we will attempt to reach an end to end an agreement, amicable agreement with our labor partners on this.
Yeah, all right. Let me borrow from your words and say, to be frank here, Mr. Mantshantsha, you also will admit that it is as a result of management at Eskom failing to manage this situation, because labor action talks to the failure of management to either agree with the workers ahead of time before things came to a head. So management at Eskom has completely failed, and that's why we, the citizens, are bearing the brunt of this.
I beg to disagree, Mr. Mugambi. Negotiations by their very nature are a give and take. So you go in there to present what can be afforded by the company, and that is what management has done. Eskom has offered to increase the wages of the 30,000 employees in the bargaining forum by an average 4.7% for the year. That is what Eskom can afford, and this comes in 3 packages. An increase of 5.3% for one group of workers, an increase of 4.5% for another group of workers, and lastly an increase of 4%. This is an attempt to narrow the wage gap, the differential between the various levels of employees, and on average it will be 4.7% if accepted and implemented. That is what Eskom can afford, and Eskom that today is heavily reliant on cash bailouts from the government to be able to meet its obligations, to the lenders and indeed to the employees in order to be able to operate. Eskom has been receiving cash bailouts since at least 2015. You don't receive cash bailouts because you have got too much money. You actually receive cash bailouts from your shareholder because the opposite is true. The workers, the trade unions, started by demanding an increase of 15%. They have now lowered it to a demand of 10%, which is still way above what Eskom can afford. So it's not true to say that management have failed to manage. The truth is that the workers, the labor unions are making demands that are way out of proportion and out of reason and out of affordability for a company that has, for the better part of 10 years, been relying on cash bailouts because its own operations are not able to generate sufficient cash to keep the company running. So it is not correct to say management has failed in this instance.
Well, what is it going to take then to solve this strike action? As you say, they've lowered their demand to 10%, and you're still saying that you can't afford that because you rely on government bailouts. What's it going to take to end this strike?
The labor unions are now demanding a 10% increase in an economy that has gone completely the other way. And that 10% increase, if Eskom were to agree to it, you and I, the users of electricity, the taxpayers, will have to pay for that. Eskom would have to again go and request another increase in the price of electricity to pay for that. So what is it going to take to end this strike or the deadlock? It's going to take a labor force, trade unions that actually know the reality and accept the reality of this economy, accept the reality that the people that they serve, the people that must pay for those increases, have themselves lost their jobs and are not even able to pay for the electricity that Eskom must supply. They will also accept the fact that Eskom, year in and year out, has been meeting all its obligations to employees, paying full salaries, even at a time when companies have had to suspend payments, retrench workers. Eskom has not done that. It has actually met all its obligations to the workers. Eskom is operating in a system where it has had to go beg the government for cash. For a cash bailout in order to meet its obligations. Yeah. So you are talking here about demands that are totally unaffordable, way out of kilter with the economy. Nobody in South Africa is getting anywhere near 10% in this economy. And certainly, let me repeat this again, it is not Eskom's management that would pay for any settlement that is eventually reached. It is the users of that electricity, the people of South Africa, who have been losing their jobs left, right, and center. The people that must pay for electricity are people that have no jobs today.
All right, so it's the very same unions that you rely on to basically come to their senses. And I would tell you, Mr. Mantshantsha, that those same unions that you are putting your trust on to start thinking reasonably, if we were to put it like that, these are the same unions you are afraid to name as being behind this strike. On Friday, I listened to you. You were on a radio, and you were on a radio with a spokesperson of a certain union. But today, you are afraid to tell us which unions are behind this illegal strike. So we are in no man's land here as South Africans, are we? We're being held to ransom by unions that you yourselves at Eskom are afraid to confront.
Truly, you cannot put words into my mouth. I can certainly tell you that, one, I have said to you, there are 3 trade unions that Eskom has been negotiating with.
Yeah, but you can't tell us which one is embarking on strike action or its members are on an illegal strike.
If you allow me to answer your question, I will.
All right.
Solidarity, the National Union of Mine Workers, the National Union of Metal Workers are the unions that are in the bargaining forum. Not a single one of those unions has come out to confirm that it is on strike. we do see Eskom employees wearing trade union regalia, predominantly NUMSA and the NUM. They are wearing those and they are demonstrating outside of the power stations and conducting in the unlawful manner I have spoken about. And none of the trade unions have confirmed they are leading people out on strike. That's precisely because they know it would be illegal for them to actually confirm that they are leading people on strike. So as we stand here, there is no union that has said we are on strike. Yet none of the unions have actually condemned their members from behaving in the manner they do. So that's not being afraid of naming them. They have not confirmed that they are on strike, but people out there are just going and behaving in a manner, waving the union's flags, by the way, without the unions coming out to confirm or deny that they are on strike.
Well, that's the sum total of what we're going to try and get out of this interview with the spokesperson for the power utility, Eskom, Sikonathi Mantshantsha. Let me thank you for your time.